my father's family name being Pirip, and my Christian name Philip, my infant tongue could make of both names nothing longer than Pip. So I called myself Pip, and came to be called Pip. It was here in this bleak churchyard that I first found out for certain that Philip Pirip, late of this parish, and also Georgiana, wife of the above, were dead and buried, and that Alexander, Bartholomew, Abraham, Tobias, and Roger, 5 little brothers of mine, were also dead and buried, and that the flat wilderness beyond the churchyard was the marshes, and that the distant savage lair from which the wind was rushing was the sea, and that small bundle of shivers, that orphan growing afraid of it all and beginning to cry, was Pip.
Hold your noise. Keep still, or I'll cut your throat.
Oh, don't cut me throat, sir.
Tell us your name, quick.
Pip, sir.
Once more, give it mouth.
Pip, sir.
Where's your mother?
There, sir. There, sir. Also Georgiana. That's me mother.
Is that your father along or your mother?
Yes, sir. Him too. Late of this parish.
Well, who do you live with? Supposing you're kindly let to live.
Me sister, sir. Mrs. Joe Gargery. Wife of Joe Gargery. The blacksmith, sir.
Blacksmith, eh? You know what a file is?
Yes, sir.
You know what whittles is?
Food, sir.
You bring me a file, and you bring me whittles. You bring 'em to me tomorrow morning early, or I'll have your heart and liver out. There's a young man hid with me, in comparison with which I am an angel. That young man has a secret way of getting at a boy, and that is heart, and that is liver. It will be very hard to hold that young man off your insides. Now, what do you say?
I'll get you the file and whittles and come to you in the morning.
Say, Lord, strike me dead if I don't.
Lord, strike me dead if I don't.
Now get home, and don't tell no one you've seen such a person as me.
I made the best use of my legs and did not stop running till I reached the forge.
Mrs. Joe has been out a dozen times looking for you, Pip. She's out now making it a baker's dozen.
Is she, Joe?
What's worse, she's got Tickler with her.
Tickler was a wax-ended piece of cane worn smooth by collision with my tickled frame.
Has she been gone long, Joe?
Well, she's been on the rampage this last spell for about 5 minutes. Oh, she's a-coming. Get under the table, old chap.
Oh, where have you been, you young monkey?
I've only been to the churchyard.
Churchyard? If it weren't for me, you'd have been in the churchyard long ago and stayed there. Now, who brought you up by hand?
You did?
And why did I do it, I should like to know.
I don't know.
I certainly don't. I'll never do it again, I know that. Oh, it's bad enough being a blacksmith's wife and him a Gargery without being your mother. Churchyard, indeed. You'll drive me to the churchyard betwixt you one of these days and, oh, a precious pair you'd be without me.
Ah, there's another convict off.
What does that mean, Joe?
Escaped.
There was a convict off last night after sunset gun. They fired one of them. Seems they're firing one another.
Who's firing?
Drat boy, what a questioner he is.
Mrs. Joe, I should like to know, if you wouldn't mind, where the firing comes from.
Oh, Lord bless the boy, from the Oaks.
And please, what's Oaks?
Answer him one question and I'll ask you a dozen more. Oaks are prison ships.
Is put into prison ships?
Oh, I didn't bring you up by hand to badger people's lives out. People are put in Oaks because they murder and because they rob and do all sorts of bad, and they always begin by asking questions!
I had begun by asking questions, and I was going to rob Mrs. Joe. Clearly, I was on my way to the hulks. I was in mortal terror of my convict with the leg irons, Mortal terror of the young men he said wanted my heart and liver. Mortal terror of myself for making such an awful promise. I was terrified that Mrs. Joe would find me robbing her pantry. A stone bottle of brandy, a rind of cheese, a meat bone with very little on it, and Mrs. Joe's beautiful pork pie. I ran to the forge for the file and stole out onto the misty marshes. Instead of running at everything, everything seemed to be running at me. Even the cows cried as plainly as could be, "Stop! A boy has stolen somebody's pork pie! Stop, thief! Stop, thief!"
The man who wants my liver!
What's in the bottle, boy?
Brandy?
And that?
A pork pie? I'm glad you enjoy it.
Did you speak?
I said I was glad you enjoyed it.
Thank you, my boy. I do.
I'm afraid you won't leave any of it for him.
Leave any for him? Who's him?
The young man that you spoke of.
Him? He don't want no whittles.
I thought he looked as if he did.
Looked? When?
Just now.
Where?
Yonder, over there.
Huh?
I thought it was you, dressed like you, only with a hat and with the same reason for wanting to borrow a file.
Do you notice anything else on him?
He had a scar on his cheek.
Not here.
Yes, there.
Oh! Where is he? I'll pull him down like a bloodhound. Oh, curse this iron. Give us the file, boy.
Being that it was Christmas morning, I was very much afraid of keeping away from home any longer. I told my convict,
I must go.
but he took no notice. The last I heard of him was his file still going in the mist.
Mrs. Joe, I have brought you as compliments of the season. I have brought you a bottle of port wine. And Mrs., I have brought you a bottle of sherry wine.
Oh, Uncle Pumblechook. Oh, this is kind. To hear that, be grateful.
Especially be grateful, boy, to them which let you out my ass.
Why is it the young are never grateful?
Never.
Naturally vicious.
True.
True. Clean plates cold. Now, Uncle, you must taste, well, you all must taste to finish along with such a delicious present as Uncle Pumblechook's a nice, savoury pork pie.
A bit of savoury pork pie would lay atop anything you could mention and do no harm.
Oh.
Mrs. Joe, we'll do our best endeavours. Leave us a cut of that same pie.
You shall have some too, Pip.
Oh, goodness gracious me, what's gone with the pie? Have you seen it?
Here you are, look sharp, come on! Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, but I am on the chase in the name of the king, and I want a blacksmith.
Yeah, and what might you want with him?
Mrs., speaking for myself, I should reply, the honor and pleasure of his fine wife's acquaintance. Speaking for the king, I answer a little job done. You see, blacksmith, the lock on these has gone wrong, and they are wanted for immediate service.
Yes, sir. I'll see to it at once.
Convicts, Sergeant.
I, too. Anybody here seen any sign of such game?
It seemed to take Joe an eternity to finish his job. But by some stroke of luck, Mrs. Joe didn't mention anything about her stolen pie. So far, I was free and clear. So far.
Sergeant? May, we, Pip and me, see what comes of Iront.
Surely, blacksmith, but keep to the rear and call out if you catch sight of anyone.
Come along, Pip. Oh, what larks!
I'll have another sherry myself.
Mind you, Joe Gargery, if you bring the boy back with his head blown to bits by a musket, don't look to me to put it together again.
With my heart thumping like a blacksmith, I looked all about for sign of the convicts. If we should come upon them, would my particular convict suppose that it was I who brought the soldiers there?
runaways! Guards! This way for runaway convicts! Get them, men! Get them! Let's go! Surrender, you two! And confound you for two wild beasts!
Fine! I took him! I'll give him up to you!
It'll do you small good, my man. Handcuffs there!
I took him! That's enough for me!
Take notice, Sergeant. He tried to murder me.
Murder him? I could have got clear of these marshes if I hadn't discovered he was here. Let him go free. Let him make a fool out of me.
He tried to
fresh
murder
again.
me!
See those groveling and wandering eyes? That's how he looked when we was tried together.
You're not much to look at.
Ah!
Didn't I tell you he'd murder me if he could?
Enough of this parley! Take them to the Oaks.
Come on, move!
Let's go.
I have something to say respecting this escape.
You must say what you like, but you have no call to say it here.
I know, but this is another point. A separate matter. I took some whittles up from a village over yonder.
You
near the
mean
church
stole?
steps. A man can't starve. At least I can't. I took a file, too, from the blacksmith.
Hello, Pip, you hear that?
Blacksmith, have you missed anything?
My wife did at the very moment you come in. What do you know, Pip? A pork pie.
So you're the blacksmith, are you? Well, I'm sorry to say I've eat your pie.
Heaven knows you're welcome to it as it ever were mine. We don't know what you've done, but we wouldn't have you starved to death for it. Would us, Pip?
By the light of the torches, I saw the black hulk lying out a little way from the mud of the shore like a wicked Noah's Ark. Moored by massive rusted chains, the prison ship seemed to my young eyes to be ironed like the prisoners. I watched as my convict was rowed out and taken up the side of the ship to disappear. And then, as if it were all over with him, the ends of the torches were flung hissing into the water and went out. I had heard of Miss Havisham uptown. Everybody for miles round had heard of Miss Havisham uptown. She was an immensely rich lady who lived in seclusion in a dismal house on a hill, Satis House. It seems this very lady had asked Uncle Pumblechook if he knew of a boy who could go and play there. That boy was me.
Now, my boy, your fortune may surely be made this day. Miss Havisham. Miss Havisham. Boy, be forever grateful to all friends, but especially unto them which brought you up by hand.
What name?
Pumblechook.
Quite right.
This is Pip.
This is Pip, is it? Come in, Pip. Oh, did you wish to see Miss Havisham?
If Miss Havisham wished to see me.
Ah, but you see, she don't.
Boy, let your behavior be a credit unto them which brought you up by hand.
Is that the name of this house, miss? Yes, Satis House. Satis is Greek or Latin for enough.
Enough house. That's a curious name, miss.
It means that whosoever has this house could want nothing else. They must have been easily satisfied in those days, I should think. Don't loiter, boy.
Oh, Estella, so beautiful, so self-possessed, and as scornful of me as if she had been a queen. She led me through that dark house to Miss Havisham's door.
Go in.
After you, miss.
Don't be ridiculous. I'm not going in.
Enter. Who is it?
Pip, ma'am.
Pip.
Mr. Pumblechook's boy, ma'am. Come to play.
Come near. Let me have a look at you. Come close. You are not afraid of a woman who has never seen the sun since you were born.
No?
Do you know what I touch here?
Yes, ma'am.
What do I touch?
Your art.
Broken. I'm tired. I want diversion. Play. Sometimes I have sick fancies, and I have a fancy that I want to see some play. There! Play! Play! Play!
I'm very sorry, ma'am. I can't play just now. If you complain of me, I shall get into trouble with me sister. So I would do it if I could. It's so strange. So new to me. So melancholy.
So new to him, so old to me, so strange to him, so familiar to me, so melancholy to us both. Ah, your own one day, my dear. Let me see you play at cards with that boy.
With that boy? Why, he is a common laboring boy.
Well, you can break his heart.
What do you play, boy?
Nothing but beggar my neighbour, miss.
Beggar him.
As Estella dealt the cards, I began to understand that everything in the room had stopped, like the clock, at 20 minutes to 9. The shoe on the dressing table had never been worn. The withered bridal gown looked so like grave clothes, the long veil so like a shroud.
He calls the knaves jacks, this boy, and what coarse hands he has, and what thick boots. He's a stupid, clumsy, laboring boy.
You say nothing of her. She says many hard things of you, yet you say nothing of her. What do you think of her?
I don't like to say.
Tell it in my ear.
Oh, I think she's very proud.
Anything else?
I think she's very pretty.
Anything else?
I think she's very insulting.
Anything else?
I think I should like to go
Oh, when shall I have you here again?
Today is
I
Wednesday.
know nothing of the days of the week, nothing of weeks of the year. Come again after 6 days. Estella, show him out. Goodbye, Pip.
Wait there, you boy.
Estella treated me as if I were a dog in disgrace. I looked at my coarse hands, my common boots. In the little world in which a child has their existence, there is nothing so finely perceived as injustice. It may only be a small injustice, but the child is small, and their world is small.
Why don't you cry?
Because I don't want to.
You do. You have been crying until you are half blind, and you are near crying again now.
I thought of Joe and my sister sitting in the kitchen, and how Miss Havisham and Miss Estella never sat in the kitchen, but were far above the level of such common doings. How common Estella would consider Joe, a mere blacksmith. How thick his hands, how coarse his boots.
Well, boy, how did you get on uptown?
Pretty well.
Pretty well? Pretty well's no answer. Tell us what you mean by pretty well.
I mean pretty well.
Oh, of all the ungrateful... I'll work him over with Tickler. We'll see about this pretty well.
Boy, don't you look at me with that tone of voice. What was Miss Havisham doing when you went inside?
She was sitting in a black velvet coach.
Black velvet coach?
Yes, and Mrs. Stella handed her a cake on solid gold plates.
Solid gold plates? Was anybody else there?
4 dogs.
Dogs, large or small?
Immense. And they fought for veal cutlets out of a silver basket.
Oh, but where was this coach? Oh, in the name of gracious.
In Miss Havisham's bedroom.
Uncle, can this be possible? Did you ever see her in it?
How could I when I never set eyes on her before in my life? I was took outside the door stood ajar, and she spoke at me that way.
Did you play, Pip? What did you play at?
Flags.
Flags?
Estella waved a blue flag, and I waved a red one, and Miss Havisham waved one sprinkled with little gold stars out of a coach window.
My story grew larger and stranger. My sister and Uncle Pumblechook went off to discuss these wonders privately.
Miss Havisham will surely do something for that ungrateful boy.
But when I saw Joe's wide open eyes, I felt myself a young monster.
Joe, I have something to tell you, Joe.
Oh, more wonders then, Pip? Tell it.
It's a terrible thing, Joe. All that I told you just now, it ain't true.
You don't mean to say
Lies,
it's
Joe, lies.
But not all of it. I weren't no velvet coach. At least there were dogs. One dog? A puppy? Oh, Pip!
No, Joe, nothing. It's terrible, Joe.
Terrible? Awful! What possessed you?
I don't know what possessed me, but I wish you hadn't taught me to call knaves jacks, and I wish my boots weren't so thick, nor my hands so coarse, and Miss Estella, she's a beautiful young lady, Joe. She called me common. I wish I weren't common, and otherwise come of this somehow.
Well, there's one thing you may be sure of, Pip. Namely, that's lies is lies. Howsoever they come, don't tell no more of them. That ain't the way to get out of being common, old chap. And as to being common, you are uncommon of some things.
I'm ignorant and backwards, Joe.
Oh, look at how you can print your letters, Pip. That's something I can't do.
But I've learned next to nothing, Joe.
Oh, the king upon his throne begun at A and worked his way to Z, just the same as you, true?
True.
But look here, Pip. How what is said to you by a true friend. If you can't get to be uncommon through going straight, you'll never get to do it through going crooked. So don't tell no more lies, chap.
You were not angry with me, Joe?
No, never, old chap. But, you sure there weren't no dogs?
No, Joe. No dogs.
Oh, Pip. Oh, don't cry, old chap. Ever the best of friends, ain't us? Ever the best of friends.
I dated a new admiration of Joe from this night. I was looking up to Joe in my heart. At the appointed time, I returned to Miss Havisham's.
Well,
Miss?
am I pretty?
Yes, I think you're very pretty.
Am I insulting?
Not so much as you were last time.
Not so much.
No.
Now? You little coarse monster, what do you think of me now?
I shall not tell you.
Because you are going to tell inside, is that it?
No, that's not it.
Why don't you cry again, you little wretch?
Because I'll never cry for you again.
Boy of the neighborhood, hey?
Yes, sir.
How do you come here?
Miss Havisham sent for me, sir.
Well, behave yourself. I have a pretty large experience of boys, and you're a bad set of fellows. Now mind you, behave yourself.
Wait in here today.
This is where they will lay me when I am dead. They will come and look at me here. What do you think that is?
I can't guess what it is, ma'am.
It's a bride's cake. Mine. Come. Come. Walk me.
Dear Miss Havisham, how well you look!
I do not. I'm yellow skin and bone.
Poor dear soul, certainly not to be expected to look well, poor thing. The idea.
Well, Camilla, how are you?
Oh, as well as can be expected.
What's the matter with you?
Well, I don't wish to make a display of my feelings, but I have habitually thought of you more in the night than I am quite equal to.
Then don't think of me.
Well, very easily said. Sarah Pocket is witness to what nervous jerkings I have in my legs. Choking and nervous jerkings are nothing new to me. When I think with anxiety on those I love...
Oh, now, Camilla, my dear, it is well known that your family feelings are gradually undermining you to the extent of making one of your legs shorter than the other.
It's a weakness to be so affectionate, but I can't help it. I have taken to the sofa and lain there hours, insensible, prostrate with worry and fear for those I love, and nobody has thanked me.
I should think not. Why should I thank you while you wait like vultures to pick away at my carcass? Sarah, your place will be there. Camilla, your place will be there at my head. Now you know your stations when you come to feast upon me. Now go!
Well, I suppose there's nothing to be done but comply and depart. I am determined not to make a display of my feelings, but it's very hard to be told one wants to feast on one's relations.
Bless you, Miss Havisham, dear, bless you.
This is my birthday, Pip.
Oh, I wish you had...
I don't suffer it to be spoken of. On this day of the year, long before you were born, this heap of decay was brought here. It and I have worn away together. The mice have gnawed at it, and sharper teeth than teeth of mice have gnawed at me. When they lay me in my bride's dress on my bride's table, the curse upon him will be finished. Go out and play, boy.
I set about exploring the great old mansion, and finally found myself in a ruined garden staring face to face with a pale young gentleman.
Hello, young fellow.
Hello,
Who let you in?
Miss Estella.
Come and fight. I will stop a minute, though. I ought to give you a reason for fighting. Ah! There it is. We'll play by regular rules.
That means you've won! Can I help you?
No, thank you. Good afternoon.
Same to you.
Time for you to go, boy. Come here. You may kiss me if you like.
The weeks and the months went on. The months turned into years, and Estella never told me that I might kiss her again. Miss Havisham asked me what I was going to be, and I told her I'm to be apprentice to Joe. So she asked me to bring you here, Joe, and only you with my indentures.
Well, you've grown tall. And tell me, what do you think of Estella? Prettier and prettier.
Yes, Mum. Miss Havisham, this is Joe Gargery.
Oh, you are the husband of the sister of this boy. You are the husband of the sister of this boy.
Which I met is say, Pip, as I up and married your sister and were at the time what you might call a single man.
And you have reared the boy with the intention of taking him as your apprentice. Is that so, Mr. Gargery?
You know, Pip, you and me were ever friends, and the apprenticeship looked for betwixt us, and as you never made objections to the business.
Has the boy ever made any objections?
Which is well beknownst to yourself, Pip. Had a word of wish of your own heart.
Did you bring Pip's indentures with you?
Oh, you know, Pip. You yourself see me put them in me hat. Therefore, you know they're here.
And you want no premium for the boy? No sum of money?
Joe, why don't you answer?
Oh, Pip. You know the answer to be full well no, Pip. And wherefore should I say it?
Well, the boy has earned a premium here. And here it is. There are 25 guineas in this bag. Give it to your master, Pip.
Oh, thank you, Pip. This is very liberal on your part, though. Ever grateful and welcome, though never look for. Far nor near nor nowheres.
Goodbye, Pip. Let them out, Estella.
Am I to come again, Miss Havisham?
No. Gargery's your master now. Gargery, a word. This boy has been a good boy here, and that is his reward. You will expect no other, and no more.
Goodbye, Miss Estella.
Yes, Pip.
Oh, Pip, I do assure you, this is astonishing, Pip, just astonishing!
Goodbye, Pip.
It is a most miserable thing to be ashamed of home. Once I had thought that when I should at last go to work in the forge as Joe's apprentice, that I should be distinguished and happy. Only now I lived in dread that in some unlucky hour, being at my grimiest and commonest, I would lift up my eyes and see Estella looking in at one of the windows. Joe kept a journeyman at weekly wages named Orlick, and he had no liking for me. Not that he ever said anything, but he would always beat his sparks in my direction. Joe, don't you think I ought to pay a visit to Miss Havisham?
Well, Pip, what for?
Well, here I am getting on in the first year of my time, and ever since the day of my being bound, I've never thanked Miss Havisham or even asked after her.
Well, if I were you, Pip, I wouldn't. No, she might think you wanted something. Expected something of her.
Oh, please, Joe. If you were to give me an off holiday tomorrow, I think I would go uptown and make a call on Miss Havisham.
What's her name, mate? Mrs. Havisham? She'd been rechristened.
I know, Joe, I know. It was a slip of mine. Now, what you think of it, Joe?
If you think well of it, then I do too.
Now, Master. Sure you're not going to favour only one of us, eh? If young Pip has half holiday, do as much for old Orlick, eh?
Why? What do you do for half holiday if you get it?
Well, I'll do as much with it as him.
As to Pip, he's a-going uptown.
Well, as for old Orlick, he's a-going uptown too.
Don't lose your temper.
Shut up I like, Master. Ain't no favour in this shop. You need to be a man.
Well then, let it be a half holiday for all.
Oh, like you fool. Giving holidays to great idle ogres like that. I wish I was his master.
You'd be everybody's master if you durst.
Let her alone.
I'd be a match for all noodles and rogues, and you are the worst rogue between this and France.
You are a foul shrew, Mother Gargery.
I tell you, let her alone.
What did this fellow Orlick say to me, Pip? What did he call me with my husband standing by a road?
I'll hold you under the pump and I'll choke it out.
I tell you, let her alone.
With my husband standing by!
What do you mean interfering betwixt me and the missus? If you're man enough, then come on.
Oh, no. Oh. Come on now. I will.
If there ever wasn't a man in the neighborhood who could stand up long against Joe, I never saw him. Orlick, as if he had been of no more account than my pale young gentleman, was very soon amongst the coal dust and in no hurry to get out.
On the rampage, Pip, and off the rampage, Pip. Such is life.
With what excited emotions I found myself again going to Miss Havisham's. I passed and repassed the gate many times before I could make up my mind to ring. But when I finally did ring, it was Miss Sarah Pocket and not Miss Estella who let me in.
You here again? What do you want?
I just want to see how Miss Havisham is doing.
Well, what next? The idea.
Well, I hope you want nothing. You'll get nothing.
Oh, no, indeed, Miss Havisham. I only wanted to assure you that I'm getting on very well in my apprenticeship and I'm always obliged to you.
Ah, you are looking around for Estella, eh?
I hope she's well.
In France, educating for a lady far out of reach. Prettier than ever, admired by all who see her. Do you feel you have lost her? there. Come now and then. Come on your birthday. Here. Here's a guinea for you.
Oh, no, indeed, Miss Havisham.
Do you expect more?
No, Mum.
Good day to you.
Thank you.
The dear.
Now, Camilla, we are to love our neighbor.
Sarah Pocket, if a man is not his own neighbor, who is?
Very true.
Another convict escaped. Orlick, is that you?
Oh! Young master, I was standing by on a chance and company.
You're out late.
Well, you're out late.
Someone's been attacked! Trouble at the forge!
At the forge!
Oh, Pip. Ella was hurt at the
Your
front.
sister's been knocked down by a tremendous blow.
She's been hit from behind, Pip, when her face is still towards the fire.
This was found beside her. A convict's leg iron, filed asunder.
Pip, who'd have done such a thing?
Convicts! Jailbirds in their flight. Convicts would have done it. Come on, let's go see if we can find them.
My convict's leg iron. The iron I had heard him filing at so many years ago on the marshes. Horrible to think that I had provided the murder weapon. But my convict had not put it to its latest use. Someone else had become possessed of it. Someone else's hand had struck down Mrs. Joe, and she was destined never to be on the rampage again. Thus it was that Biddy came to us. Biddy was an orphan like myself who carried all her worldly possessions in a speckled box. She soon became a blessing to the household. My sister was disturbed, her sight and hearing greatly impaired, her memory also, her speech unintelligible.
Such a fine figure of a woman as she once were. Such a fine figure of a woman.
Biddy had not been with us very long when I observed that she had pretty eyes. She was not beautiful, she was common and could not be like Estella. But she was pleasant and wholesome and sweet-tempered. Biddy, I want you to promise to keep a secret.
Of course, Pip.
Biddy, I want to be a gentleman.
Oh, I wouldn't if I was you, Pip. I don't think it would answer.
I have a particular reason for wanting to be a gentleman.
You know best, Pip, but don't you think you're happy as you are?
Biddy, I'm disgusted with my calling and with my life. Don't be absurd.
Was I absurd? I'm sorry, I don't mean to be. I only want you to do well and be comfortable.
How can I be anything but dissatisfied and uncomfortable when I've been told I'm coarse and common?
It was neither a very true nor a very polite thing to say. Who said it?
The beautiful young lady at Miss Havisham's. And she's more beautiful than anybody ever was. And I want to be a gentleman on her account.
Do you want to be a gentleman to spite her or to gain her over?
I don't know.
Because if it is to spite her, then I should think, but you know best, it were better to care nothing for her words. And if it is to gain her over, then I should think, but you know best, she was not worth gaining over.
It may all be quite true, Biddy, but I admire her dreadfully.
I am glad of one thing, though, and that is you felt you could give me your confidence.
Oh, Biddy, I shall always tell you everything.
Till you're a gentleman.
Well, you know I never shall be, so that's always. Biddy, if only I could get myself to fall in love with you. You don't mind my being so open.
Oh, dear. No, not at all. Don't mind me.
If only I could get myself to do it, that would be the thing for me.
But you never will, you see.
Hello!
Don't let him come in. I don't like him.
Will the young master be coming to work today, eh?
I'll be there directly. Joe's opening up, you can go along.
Oh, so that's how it is, eh?
Why don't you like him?
Because I'm afraid he likes me.
Did he ever tell you he likes you?
No, but he dances at me whenever he can catch my eye. But that makes no difference to you, you know.
No, it makes no difference to me, Biddy. Only I don't like it. I don't approve of it.
Nor I neither.
Exactly. If my mind was not confused enough before, I now complicated its confusion 50,000-fold by having moments when it was clear to me that Biddy was immeasurably better than Estella, and that the plain, honest working life to which I had been born had nothing in it to be ashamed of. But then some remembrance of the Havisham days would fall upon me and scatter my wits again. One stray thought that perhaps Miss Havisham was going to make my fortune after all.
I have reason to believe there's a blacksmith here named Joseph Gargery.
There is a man.
You have an apprentice, commonly known as Pip?
I'm here.
Yes, yes indeed. My name is Jaggers. I'm a lawyer in London and the bearer of an offer to relieve you of this young fellow, your apprentice. You would not object to cancel his indentures at his request and for his good?
Lord forbid I should stand in Pip's way.
You would want nothing for so doing? No sum of money?
Oh, the answer is no.
Very well. Recollect the admission you have made, and don't try to go from it presently. Now I return to this young fellow, and the communication I have got to make is that he has great expectations. He will come into a handsome property. Furthermore, that it is a desire of the present possessor of that property that he be removed from this place and brought up as a gentleman. In a word, as a young fellow of great expectations. Mr. Pip, you ought to understand first that it is the request of your benefactor that you always bear the name of Pip. You have no objection, I dare say, to that easy condition.
No objections.
I should think not. You ought to understand, secondly, that the name of your liberal benefactor shall remain a profound secret until that person chooses to reveal it. Again, not a very difficult condition, but if you have any objection, speak out.
No objections.
I should think not. Now, as your guardian, I hold a sum of money sufficient for your maintenance and better education, and you may take residence in London with one habit pocket. First, you should have some new clothes to come in. You will want some money. Shall I leave you 20 guineas? Well, Joseph Gargery, you look dumbfounded.
I am.
It was understood you wanted nothing for yourself. Remember?
It were understood and will be ever similar according.
But what if it was in my instructions to make you a present as compensation?
As compensation, what for?
For the loss of his services.
Pip has a hearty welcome to go to honor and fortune with his services. But if you think money can make compensation for the loss of a little child, what happens to the fortune? Oh, ever the best of friends!
Oh, Joe, we've ever been the best of friends and ever will be.
Now, Joseph Gargery, I warn you, this is your last chance.
Which I meant to say, if you come into my place bull-baiting me, if you think you're man enough, come on!
No, Joe, it's fine. It's all right. It's all right, Joe.
Well, Mr. Pip, I think the sooner you leave here, the better. Let it stand for this day next week. You can take the stagecoach to London and then come straight to me. Now, good night to you.
You hear this, Mrs. Joe? Pip has great expectations. He's coming into property.
Pip.
Yes, Pip.
Property.
Yes, property.
5 more days. Then the day before the day. They'll go soon.
Yes, Pip. They'll soon go.
Soon go.
I think when I go downtown and order my new clothes, I'll tell the tailor to send them to Uncle Pumblechook's and I'll put them on there. It'd be very disagreeable to be stared at by all the common people there.
Oh, yes, indeed, Pip.
Have you thought about when you'll show yourself to Mr. Gargery and your sister and me? You will show yourself to us, won't you, Pip?
Biddy, you shall see me in them the morning I go away.
You know best, Pip.
I went into town and presented myself before Mr. Trabb the tailor.
Well, Ian, what can I do for you?
Mr. Trabb, it's an unpleasant thing to have to mention, because it looks an awful lot like boasting, but I've come into an handsome property.
Property? Well, bless my soul.
I'm going to my guardian in London tomorrow, and I want a fashionable suit of clothes to go in. I wish to pay for them with ready money.
My dear sir, don't hurt me by mentioning that. May I venture to congratulate you?
Mr. Trabb presented his finest fabrics for my inspection. I was being measured as if I were an estate, and Mr. Trabb the finest species of surveyor. He gave himself such a world of trouble that I felt that no suit of clothes could possibly remunerate him for his pains. Would you send the finished suit round to Uncle Pumblechook's?
Yes, sir. Much obliged.
Think that I should have been the humble instrument leading up to this proud reward. My dear young friend, if I may call you so.
Certainly.
I always said that boy was no common boy, and his fortune would be no common fortune. You never thought when you was a boy what was in store for you. But I saw the stars shining above you, twinkling and shining. My dear young friend, if I may ask a piece of advice, it just so happens that there's an opportunity for a great amalgamation of corn and sea trade on these my humble premises. All it's needed is more capital. More capital. Now, if that capital were got into the business, say, through a sleeping partner, say a fine young gentleman like yourself, who'd have nothing to do but walk in and collect his profits to the tune of 40%, it might be a great opening for a young gentleman of property. What you think? I've got great respect for your opinion.
Wait a minute.
Yes, yes, you know best. Oh, look, oh, may I, as a well-wisher and as a dear friend, may I?
I set out for Satis House. The ravenous relations were on hand.
You? Good gracious, you?
I'm going to London, Miss Pocket. I wish to say goodbye to Miss Havisham.
Well, this is a handsome figure, Pip.
I've come in such good fortune since I saw you last, Miss Havisham. And, I'm ever grateful for it, Miss Havisham.
I've seen Mr. Jaggers. I've heard about it. So you go tomorrow?
Yes, Miss Havisham.
And you are adopted by a rich person?
Yes, Miss Havisham.
Not named?
No, Miss Havisham.
And Mr. Jaggers has been made your guardian?
Yes, Miss Havisham.
Well, this is a promising career before you. Be good, deserve it, and abide by Mr. Jaggers' instructions. Goodbye, Pip. You must always keep the name of Pip, you know.
Yes, Miss Havisham.
Goodbye, Pip. Wish him goodbye, oh.
Goodbye, Pip.
Goodbye. The day finally arrived. You may be sure, dear Joe, I shall never forget you.
No, I'm sure of that, old chap.
Joe, I must confess to you, I've always wanted to be a gentleman.
Have you, though? Astonishing. I'm so awful dull. I'm only master of my own trade. Go. Let me fetch your bag for you.
Biddy, you will not omit an opportunity of helping Joe on a little.
How helping him?
Well, Joe is a dear old fellow, but he is rather backwards in some things. His learning, his manners...
Won't his manners do?
They do him very well here.
Oh, they do him very well here.
Hear me out. If I were to remove Joe to some higher sphere when I fully come into my property, they would hardly do him justice.
And don't you think he knows that?
What you mean, Biddy?
Have you never considered he might be proud?
Proud?
Oh, there are many kinds of pride, Pip. Pride is not all one kind. He may be too proud to let someone take him out of a place that he is competent to fill, and fills it well, and with respect. To tell you the truth, Pip, I think he is. But you must know him far better than I do.
Biddy, I'm very sorry to see this in you, Biddy, but you're envious and grudging. You're dissatisfied on account of my rise of fortune.
If you have the art to think so, Pip.
If you have the art to be so, you mean, Biddy. It's a very sorry thing to see in you. It's a bad side of human nature.
Pip, whether you scold or approve of me, you may equally depend upon me trying to do all that lies in my power here at all times. And whatever opinion you take away of me shall make no difference in my remembrance of you.
Here we are, Pip.
Well, I suppose I must be off. Goodbye, sister.
Property.
Biddy, goodbye. Joe? Oh, Joe, goodbye. I stopped on the marshes and looked about me. These marshes where I had been so innocent and little, and now all beyond me was great and unknown. Here was all I had ever known. My family, my convict, my neighbors, Uncle Pumblechook, the pale young gentleman, Mr. Jaggers, Miss Havisham, Estella. All I had known. Heaven knows we never need be ashamed of tears, for they are the rain upon the blinding dust of earth, overlaying our hard hearts and our ingratitude. So I went on to the world lay spread before me, on to my great expectations. London. I admit I was scared by the immensity of it, and the suspicion that this great city was rather ugly, crooked, narrow, and dirty.
You sort this out.
Is Mr. Jaggers at home?
He is not. He is at court at present. Go and wait outside. Outside! Am I addressing Mr. Pip? Mr. Jaggers left word you are to wait. It stands to reason, his time being valuable, that he won't be any longer than he can help.
Now, I have nothing to say to you about your case. Have you paid Wemmick?
I thought, Mr. Jaggers...
You thought? I think for you, you blundering booby. Now pay Wemmick.
My bill, sir.
If you don't know your bill's in good hands, I know it. Have you paid Wemmick?
Oh, yes, sir. Every farden.
Then you have done all you have to do. Say another word, and Wemmick shall give you your money back.
But...
Let go of my coat. Ah, Mr. Pip, you've come. Pardon me while I wash my hands. As to your arrangements, you are to go to Barnard's Inn, to young Mr. Pocket's rooms. On Monday, you will start your lessons. Wemmick has your first month's allowance and the cards of certain tradesmen. You will find your credit good with them. By this means, I shall check your bills and pull you up if I find you outrunning the constable. Of course, you'll go wrong somehow, but that's no fault of mine.
Thank you, sir. Shall I send for a coach?
No need for that. Wemmick can walk around with you if you please. Good day.
I hardly know what to make of Mr. Jagger's manner. He always makes me feel guilty, and I don't know what for.
Tell him that and he'll take it as a compliment.
Oh.
It's not personal, it's professional. Ace deep. Deep as Australia. If that'd be anything deeper, he'd be it. Come along, Mr. Pip. It's no use. He won't have a word to say to any one of you. So, you've never been in London before?
No.
I was new here once.
Is it a very wicked place?
You may get cheated, robbed, and murdered in London, but there's plenty of people anywhere who'll do that for you. Barnard's Inn. Return shortly. I suppose young Puckett didn't think you'd be here so soon. You don't want me anymore?
No, thank you.
As I keep the cash, we shall most likely meet pretty often. Good day.
Thank you. Good day.
Oh, to be sure. You are in the habit of shaking hands. Oh, I've got so out of it! Very glad I am to make your acquaintance. Good day.
Mr. Pip?
Mr. Pocket?
Dear me. I am extremely sorry, but I knew there was a coach coming from your part of the country at midday, and I thought you would come by that one. The fact is, I have been out on your account, for I thought that coming from the country, you might like a little fruit after dinner. So I went to Covent Garden Market to get it good. Dear me, this door sticks so.
As he was fast making jam of his fruit, I said, "Allow me." Then he went back to combating the door as if it were a wild beast. Wait a minute. Satis House. You're the pale young gentleman.
Lord bless me! And you're the prowling boy? The idea of it being you!
The idea of it being you.
Well, our fighting is all over now. I do hope you forgive me for having knocked you about so badly.
Oh, certainly.
Oh, but dear me, you're holding the fruit. Let me take that from you. I'm quite ashamed.
How did you come to be at Satis House?
My father is Miss Havisham's cousin. We are the poor relations. She had sent for me to see if she could take a fancy to me, but she couldn't. At all events, she didn't.
I'm surprised to hear that.
Bad taste, but a fact. If it had come out successfully, I suppose I would have been what you may call it to Estella.
What's that?
Affianced, betrothed, engaged.
How did you bear your disappointment?
Pooh! I don't care much for her. She's a tartar.
Miss Havisham?
I don't say no to that, but I mean Estella. That girl's hard and haughty, and has been brought up by Miss Havisham to wreak revenge on all the male sex.
Why would she wreak revenge?
Mr. Pip, don't you know?
No.
Dear me, it's quite a story. Let's sit to dinner and I shall tell you it.
And sit to dinner we did. It seemed to me a Lord Mayor's feast, the very lap of luxury. Now, tell me about Miss Havisham.
At once, but first, allow me to mention that in London, it is not the custom to put the knife in the mouth, for fear of accidents. It is scarcely worth mentioning, only it's better to do as other people do.
Thank you. I'd be very appreciative as to any other such comments you may have, as to the proper manners of a gentleman.
Then, may I mention that the spoon is not generally used overhand, but under. This has two advantages. You get the food to your mouth better, which, after all, is the object, and you save yourself a good deal of the attitude of opening oysters on the part of the right elbow. Now, concerning Miss Havisham, you must know she was a spoiled child, and when her parents died, she was left very well off. Take some more wine, and excuse my mentioning that society as a body does not expect one to empty one's glass by turning it bottom upwards with the rim to one's nose.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Not at all. Miss Havisham was now an heiress and a great match. Suddenly, there came onto the scene a certain man who made love to Miss Havisham. A showy man, and not to be mistaken for a gentleman. Well, Miss Havisham perfectly idolized him, said yes to marrying him, and settled him with an enormous dowry. The wedding day was fixed, the wedding dresses bought, The marriage tour planned, the guests invited. The day came, but not the bridegroom. He sent a letter.
Which she received when she was dressing for her marriage at 20 minutes to 9.
The hour and the minute at which she afterwards stopped all the clocks.
And what happened to the man who jilted her?
Apparently, his name was Compeyson, Arthur Compeyson, and he vanished without a trace. Now all I know about Miss Havisham, you know.
Pocket! Pocket, are you in?
Drummel, what a bore.
Hello, Pocket, my man. And, who do we have here?
This is Pip. He'll be one of our classmates. Pip Drummel.
Bentley Drummel. Pocket, the awfulest thing has happened. I'm fresh out of spare change, and I wonder if you might lend me a few bob till tomorrow.
Drummel, you owe me quite a bit already, and I'm running awfully low.
What about your friend there? Master Pipsqueak.
Mr. Pip is on a strict allowance. I don't think he'll help you.
Well, you could both just go shake yourselves and go to the devil.
Steer clear of him, Pip. He's a spider, and he'll trap you any way he can. If you don't mind my mentioning it.
Not at all. Herbert became a valuable tutor to me. He helped me with my lessons, and my speech improved noticeably. He gave me dancing lessons, and we attended some musical soiree or the theater almost every evening. I was on my way to becoming a gentleman.
Ah, Mr. Pip. I trust your schooling goes well.
Yes, Mr. Jaggers.
And I hear you've shown great strength at rowing.
Yes, sir.
If you want to see strength, I'll show you a wrist. Molly, let him see your wrist.
Master, don't.
Let him see your wrist.
Master, please.
Molly, let him see both your wrists.
No, please.
Show them. Come.
No, please.
There's power there. Very few men have the power of strength that this woman has. That'll do, Molly. You've been admired and can go. Now, good day to you, Mr. Pip. Molly?
Mr. Wemmick, who was that? Her wrists were disfigured, scarred across and across.
Mr. Jaggers' housemaid. Watch her closely, and you'll see a wild beast tamed.
Wemmick!
Good day to you, Mr. Pip.
The months went on. I transformed our shabby abode into a fashionable salon, and ran up a great many bills, I'm afraid, which I put off paying, and in with them a letter from Biddy.
My dear Mr. Pip, I write this by request of Mr. Gargery for to let you know that he is going to London Wednesday next.
Good heavens, that's today!
And would be glad, if agreeable, to be allowed to see you. Your sister is much the same. We talk of you in the kitchen every night and wonder what you are saying and doing. No more, dear Mr. Pip, from your ever obliged and affectionate servant, Biddy. P.S. Joe wishes me most particular to write, "What larks?" He says you understand.
Let me confess exactly with what emotion I looked forward to Joe's coming. If I could have kept Joe away by paying money, I certainly would have. Joe, how are you, Joe?
How are you, Pip?
I am glad to see you, Joe. Give me your hat.
Ooh, you have growed. As to be sure, you are an honor to king and country.
Joe, this is Herbert Pocket.
Mr. Gargery?
Your servant, sir.
Do you take tea or coffee, Mr. Gargery?
Oh, thank you, sir. I will take whichever is most agreeable to yourself.
What do you say to coffee?
Oh, thank you, sir. I will not run contrary to your opinions, but don't you ever find it a bit strong?
Say tea, then. When did you come to town, Mr. Gargery?
Yesterday afternoon? No, we're not. What? Wait. Yes, it were.
Have you seen anything of London yet?
Why, yes, sir.
Well, Mr. Gargery, if you'll excuse me, I need to be going to town. Good day.
Oh, your servant, sir. Us two. No being alone, sir.
Joe, how can you call me sir?
Us two. No being alone. I will now conclude, leastways begin, as to what have led me to having the present honour. Well, sir. This is how it were. I were at the pub the other night when there come up to me Pumblechook, and his word were, Joseph, Miss Havisham, she wished to speak with you.
And did she, Joe?
Yes. So the next day, having cleaned myself, I go and I see Miss A.
Miss A, Joe?
Yes, Miss Havisham. She says, Mr. Gargery, you are in communication with Mr. Pip. Having had that letter from you, I were able to say, I am. Would you tell him then that Estella has come home from France and would be glad to see him?
Estella?
I asked Biddy to write the message, but she says he will be glad to have it by word of mouth and he want to see him. Go! And so, I have concluded, and I wish you ever well and ever prosper into a greater and greater height.
You're not going, are you, Joe?
Yes, I am.
But you are coming back to dinner, Joe.
No, I'm not. Pip, life is made of ever so many partings welded together. If there's been any fault today, it's mine. You and me's not two figures to be in London together. It's not that I'm proud, but I want to be right. I'm wrong out of the forge after marshes. You won't find so much fault with me hammer and me hand, or with me forge dress, or even with me pipe. And so, God bless you, dear old Pip. God bless you.
Joe. Joe! The next day I set out for Satis House, knowing for certain that it was Miss Havisham's intentions to bring Estella and myself together. Together we would restore the desolate house, admit sunshine into the darkened rooms, tear down the cobwebs, and set the clocks going again. I would be the young knight of romance and marry the princess. Orlick!
Young Master Pip. There's more changes than yours, eh?
How did you come here?
I came here on me legs.
You've left the forge?
Do this look like a forge, eh?
There never used to be a porter here.
This place needed protection, what with convicts going up and down. I was recommended.
I'm expected.
Ow. Burn me if I know.
Ah, Pip, you here as well?
Mr. Jaggers, do you know this man Orlick?
I engaged him.
I don't think he's the right sort of man to fill a post of trust for Miss Havisham.
Well, of course he is not the right sort. The man who fills the post of trust never is the right sort of man. If you feel that way, Pip, I'll go around directly and pay him off.
Oh, do be careful. He might be difficult to deal with.
I'd like to see him argue the question with me.
Come in, Pip. It is good to see you. How are you?
Very good, Miss Havisham.
So you kiss my hand as if I were a queen, eh? Well?
Hello, Pip.
Do you find her much changed?
Yes.
Is he changed?
Very much.
Less coarse and common. Leave us now, Estella. You may speak with Pip in the garden after I've had a word with him. She is to live in London. I wish you to accompany her there when I deem it necessary.
Certainly, Miss Havisham.
Do you admire her?
Everyone must who sees her.
Love her. Love her, love her. If she favors you, love her. If she wounds you, love her. If she tears your heart to pieces, love her, love her, love her. I adopted her to be loved. I bred and educated her into what she is, that she might be loved. I'll tell you what real love is. It is blind devotion, utter submission, giving up your whole heart and soul, as I did. Go to her.
This is the very spot I fought Herbert.
I know. I observed you and enjoyed it very much.
He and I are great friends now.
Are you?
Yes.
Since your change of fortune and prospects, you have changed your companions.
Naturally.
And necessarily. What was fit company for you once would be quite unfit company for you now. You had no idea of your impending good fortune in those times?
Not in the least. You know, you made me cry here once.
Did I? I don't remember.
Another time you let me kiss your cheek.
Pip, you must know that I have no heart. Oh, I have a heart to be stabbed in, or shot in, and of course if it ceased to beat, I should cease to be, but I have no softness there, no sympathy, sentiment, nonsense.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. As it is Miss Havisham's wish that you escort me when I come up to London, you had better believe it at once. No, I have not bestowed my tenderness anywhere. I have never had any such thing. What is the matter? Are you frightened?
I should be, if I believed what you said just now.
Then you don't. Very well. Come. You shall not shed tears for my cruelty today. You shall be my page whose duty it is to escort me when I come up to London. I'm going to live at great expense with a lady in Richmond who will take me about, introduce me, and show me to people.
I'm surprised Miss Havisham would part with you so soon after your return.
It is all part of her plan, Pip. I am to write her regularly and visit her to report how I go on. I and the jewels, for they are nearly all mine now.
I wonder what Miss Havisham's relations think of all this.
Oh, what satisfaction it gives me to see those people thwarted. You were not brought up in that house from a mere baby. I was. You had not your little wits sharpened by their intriguing against you. I had. But then you're as much a torment to their lives as I. You can scarcely realize the hatred those people have for you.
They do me no harm, I hope.
These people never will, never in 100 years impair your ground with Miss Havisham, and there is my hand upon it. You ridiculous boy, will you never take warning? Or do you kiss my hand in the same spirit that I once let you kiss my cheek?
If I say yes, may I kiss the cheek again?
You should have asked before you touched the hand. But, yes, if you like.
My dear Mr. Pip, it is with great sadness that I must inform you that Mrs. Joseph Gargery departed this life on Monday last, and her interment will be on Monday next at 3 o'clock. Mrs. Joe had been in a bad state for 4 days when she came out of it at tea time and said quite plainly, "Joe." As she had never said any word for a long time, I ran and fetched in Mr. Gargery from the forge. She made signs that she wanted me to put her arms around his neck, and she laid her head on his shoulder quite content. And so she presently said, "Joe," again, and once, "Pardon," and once, "Pip." And she never lifted her head up more, because we found she was gone.
Dear me, more bills.
Pip, I am thinking of buying a rifle and going to America, with the general purpose of compelling buffaloes.
What are you saying, Herbert?
There seems to be no other way to make my fortune.
My dear Herbert, I'm afraid we're getting on rather badly. We were terribly in debt. I was determined to provide a solution, so it was to Mr. Jaggers that I repaired on the day of my 21st birthday.
Now, Mr. Pip, you have been drawing pretty freely here. Your name occurs often in Wemmick's cash book. I don't ask you what you owe because you don't know. And if you did know, you wouldn't tell me. You'd say less. Now, take this piece of paper in hand, unfold it, and tell me what it is.
Why, it's a banknote for £500.
A very handsome sum of money, I think.
Undoubtedly.
That handsome sum of money, Pip, is a birthday present to you from your benefactor.
And is my benefactor to be made known to me today?
No. And you now take your money affairs entirely into your own hands. Wemmick has your first month's allowance, and you can draw from him £125 per quarter. And you are to live on this.
Thank you, sir. Would you convey my gratitude to
I am not paid to carry your words to anyone. Wemmick, see to Mr. Pip.
Mr. Wemmick, I'm very desirous to help my friend Herbert. You see, he has nothing, and due to his general inaptitude, no hope of anything. I should like to help him make a beginning.
With your money?
With my money, yes.
Mr. Pip, let me run over with you on my fingers the names of London's various bridges. Let's see, there's London 1, Suffolk 2, Blackfriars 3, Waterloo 4, Westminster 5, and Vauxhall 6. There's as many as 6 you see to choose from.
I don't understand you.
Well, choose your bridge, Mr. Pip. Take a walk upon your bridge and throw your money into the Thames, and you'll know the end of it. Serve a friend with it, and you'll know the end of it too.
This is very disappointing.
Meant to be so.
Then it is your opinion that a man should never
invest portable property in a friend? Absolutely not.
And that is your official opinion?
Official? Yes.
But, say, outside, at your home in Walworth, perhaps where you live, your sentiments might be different?
They might. The office is one thing and private life another. Mr. Pip, would you care to dine with us at Walworth?
It would give me great pleasure.
I hope you don't mind an aged parent. Then I look forward to your visit, and I shall put on my considering cap as to how I may help this friend of yours. And I must tell you one thing. I think this is devilish good of you.
The next day I visited Wemmick in Walworth. It was the smallest house I had ever seen. Wemmick had it surrounded by a moat. I had to cross a drawbridge to gain admittance, and I noticed that the top was cut out as battlements mounted with guns.
You see that gun there? That's Stinger. At 9 o'clock every night, that gun fires. I am my own engineer, and my own carpenter, and my own gardener, and my own jack of all trades. Well, it's a good thing, you know. It brushes away all the loafers' cobwebs, and it pleases the aged. You wouldn't mind being introduced to the aged, would you?
I'm ever ready.
Well, aged parent, how am you?
Oh, all right, John, all right.
Is Mr. Pip for you, Aged P? Not away at him, Mr. Pip. That's what he likes. Not away at him, if you please. Like winking. There's a nod for you. There's another for you. You like that, don't you? If you're not tired, Mr. Pip, would you tip him one more? You can't think how it pleases him.
How are you, sir? How are you, sir?
That's right. Me son was brought up to wine coopering. However, me infirmity, you see, I'm hard of hearing. Yes, hard of hearing. Having me infirmity coming upon me, me son took up the law and took charge of me. and well, built this elegant and beautiful property. But, returning to what you said, my answer is, nah, to be sure, you're right.
You're proud as punch, ain't you, agent?
All right, John, all right.
Here's your paper. Read away. Come along, Mr. Pip. I have news for you. Oh, just tip him every now and then when he looks off his paper. Now, the upshot is that I found a worthy young merchant by the name of Clerica who was in need of intelligent help and some capital, and in due course would want a partner. Your friend would suit his needs admirably.
And Herbert need never know of my help.
No, I'll keep your secret if you keep mine. Not a word of Jaggers of what you've seen here. Oh, almost time for gunfire. It's the agent's treat. It's the only sound he can hear.
I heard it.
To think that my great expectations might finally have done some good. I was going to be able to help Herbert.
Oh, Pip, I have a mighty piece of news.
What is it, Herbert?
I think my fortunes have finally changed. This new merchant, Clerica, has an opening for me. I'm to enter Clerica House as a clerk, but in no time, I can work my way up to a partnership. A partnership!
Oh, Herbert, you cannot know how happy I am for you.
I will have to spend time in the offices in Egypt. Oh, Pip, you will come. You must see Egypt. The pyramids, the antiquities. Oh, I believe my way is finally clear.
I will come and visit you in Egypt, Herbert, and gratefully and happily. Now, I have something very particular to confess to you.
I shall esteem and respect your confidence.
Herbert, I adore Estella.
Well?
Well? Is that all you have to say, Herbert? Well?
What next? I mean, of course I know that.
But how do you know it? I never told you.
Told me? You have never told me when you have got your hair cut, but I've had the senses to perceive it. You have adored her ever since I have known you. You brought your adoration and your portmanteau here together.
If I adored her before, I now doubly adore her.
Have you any idea yet as to Estella's view on the adoration question?
Oh, she is 1,000 miles away from me.
Pip, I want to make myself disagreeable to you for a moment. Think of Estella's bringing up. Think of what Miss Havisham has made her. This could lead you to miserable things. Are you sure you could not detach yourself from her?
No, impossible.
You can't try.
No! Now, come on. We cannot be late for the Richmond ball. The Assembly Ball at Richmond, the biggest party of the season. All the eligible bachelors and beauties were there, and Estella outshone them all. How can Estella show any favor to that contemptible booby? I cannot bear the thought of her stooping to that spider.
That insect was lying in wait, and now he's uncoiled himself and pounced upon her.
Are you tired, Estella?
Rather, Pip.
As you should be.
Rather I should not be, for I have my letter to write to Satis House before I go to sleep.
Recounting tonight's triumph, surely a very poor one, Estella.
What do you mean?
I mean that creature that has been hovering about you all night.
Moths and all sorts of ugly creatures hover about a lighted candle. Can the candle help it?
How can you encourage a man so generally despised as Drummle?
Well?
You know he has nothing to recommend him but money now, don't you?
Well?
Well?
Pip, don't be foolish about its effect on you. It may have its effect on others and may be meant to have. It is not worth discussing.
Yes, it is. I cannot bear that people should say she throws away her graces and attractions on a mere bore, the lowest in the crowd.
I can bear it.
Oh, don't be so proud, Estella, so proud.
Calls me proud.
You give him looks and smiles such as you never gave to me.
Do you want me then to deceive and entrap you?
Do you deceive and entrap him, Estella?
Yes, and many others. All of them but you.
You stock and stone. You cold, cold heart.
You stock and stone! You cold, cold heart!
Stop it! You are sounding like Miss Havisham.
Speak the truth, you ingrate. You're tired of me, you cold, cold heart.
Do you reproach me for being cold? You!
Are you not?
I am what you made me.
Oh, look at her. So hard and thankless to one who lavished tenderness on her for years.
You have been very good to me and I owe you everything, but what would you have?
Love!
You have it.
I have not!
If you ask me to give you what you never gave me, my gratitude and duty cannot do impossibilities.
Oh, did I never give you love?
I have learned all the lessons you taught me.
Oh, so proud, so proud.
Who taught me to be proud?
So hard, so hard.
Who taught me to be hard? Who praised me when I learned my lesson?
Oh, and to be so proud and hard to me. Estella! Estella, to be so
proud and hard to me.
I must be taken as I have been made. The success is not mine. The failure is not mine. But the two together make me.
Lord Pipsqueak, what serious discussion are we having now?
Why, Mr. Drummle, I believe you promised me this dance. I had been wondering when you would come to claim it. Good night, Pip.
Good night, Pip.
The axe had been sharpened and raised, and before the night was over, the blow would be struck. It was wretched weather, stormy and wet, stormy and wet. Wet mud, mud deep in all the streets. There is someone there, is there not?
Yes.
What do you want?
Mr. Pip.
That is my name. There is nothing the matter.
Nothing the matter.
Pray, what is your business?
I will explain my business by your leave.
Do you wish to come in?
Yes, I wish to come in, master. There's no one nigh, is there?
Why do you, a stranger coming into my rooms at this time of night, ask that question?
You're a game one. I am glad you've grown up a game one.
I know you. Yes, I know you. The churchyard. My convict!
You acted nobly, my boy. Noble Pip, and I never forgot it.
Stay! Keep off! If you're grateful to me for what I did when I was a little child, I hope you have shown your gratitude by mending your way of life. If you have come to thank me, it is not necessary. Surely you must understand that I cannot wish to renew that chance intercourse with you of long ago. Our ways are different ways now. You look wet, and you are weary. Will you have a drink before you go?
Yes, I think I will drink before I go.
I hope you will not think I spoke harshly with you just now. I am sorry for it if I did. How are you living?
I've been a sheep farmer in the New World, New South Wales.
Australia. You do well, I hope.
I've done wonderful well. No man has done nigh as well as me.
I'm glad to hear it.
I am happy to hear you say so, my dear boy. May I make so bold as to ask how you have done, since you and me was out on them lone marshes?
Well, I've been chosen to succeed to some property.
Might a mere varmint ask what property?
I don't know.
Might a mere varmint ask whose property?
I don't know.
Could I make a guess, I wonder, at your income since you've come of age? As to the figure now, 5. Concerning a guardian, some lawyer maybe. As to the first letter of that lawyer's name now, could it be J? Could that lawyer named Jaggers have a clerk by whom I might have inquired your address? And might his name be Wemmick? Yes, Pip, dear boy. I've made a gentleman of you. It's me what has done it. I swore that night on the marshes that as ever I earned a guinea, that guinea should go to you. I swore that as ever I got rich, you should get rich. I lived rough, that you should live smooth. I worked hard, that you should be above work. Do I tell you for you to feel an obligation? Not a bit. I tell you for you to know as that this here hunted dunghill dog, what you kept laughing, got his head so high that he could make a gentleman. And Pip, you're him. I'm your second father. You're my son. Don't you mind talking, Pip. You haven't looked forward to this as I have. You wasn't as prepared for this as I was. But didn't you never think it might be me?
No, never.
Where will you put me? I must be put somewheres, dear boy.
To sleep?
Caution is necessary.
How do you mean, caution?
Why, it's death.
What's death?
I was sent to Australia for life. It's death to come back. I shall be hanged if I'm took. But I had to come. I had to see my boy and make myself known to him. And at last, dear boy, I done it. I done it. Dear boy, I done it.
Miss Havisham's intentions toward me all a mere dream. Estella not designed for me at all. A convict, guilty of I know not what crimes and liable to be taken from these very rooms and hanged. My benefactor. It was for him that I deserted Joe. For him that I put on airs with Biddy. I can never undo all that I have done. All that I have thought and done and dreamed of is of my great expectations.
Oh, I do beg your pardon.
Stop! It's my friend Herbert. Herbert, something very strange is happening. This is a visitor of mine. What is your real name?
Magwitch, christened Abel.
I told my story to Herbert of Magwitch christened Abel, trying desperately to conceal the repugnance towards the man who had done so much for me.
Pardon me, Mr. Magwitch, but may I ask who is this other convict you were fighting with on the marshes?
His name were Compeyson, Arthur Compeyson. Cold as death and a smooth talker. He wanted me to go into business with him. And what business? Swindling. I were a fool. I took leave of my missus. Oh, I ain't yet told you of her. But there's no need to go into that. I gives it all up for Compeyson. And after a time we was caught. When we come to be tried, Compeyson looks the very gentleman with his black clothes and his white handkerchief. And weren't it Compeyson who turned on me and says I brought him down? And weren't it the court that showed him mercy? He gets 7 years and I gets life. Life! Well, I swore that day I'd smash his face in. And when I meet this dear boy on the marshes and he tells me Compeyson is out as well, I hunted him down and I smashed him. I could have been free, but I'd never let Compeyson be free. But now I'm getting low. If I'm took, it's death. But I'm not going back. I've come for good. To be with a gentleman, what are made?
Where will you live? Where will you be safe?
Give me your opinions, dear boy.
Mr. Magwitch, let us deliberate while you rest. You must be exhausted, and we must think.
Was there ever such a fate? Think of him. Look at him.
Do you realize who Compeyson was? Arthur Compeyson was Miss Havisham's lover. And what's more, as I came upon our flat, I saw a man standing in the shadow. A good-looking man dressed in black with a white handkerchief and a scar across his cheek. I tell you, Pip, Compeyson is alive. There he stands!
Herbert, what is to be done?
Pip, go to Jaggers. Make sure Compeyson follows you. I will contrive a hiding place for Magwitch and slip him away.
Oh, Herbert, you cannot know how thankful I am to you.
Go, hurry.
Pip, be careful. Don't tell me anything. I don't want to know anything. I am not curious.
I merely want, Mr. Jaggers, to assure myself that what I have been told is true.
Told or informed? Told would imply verbal communication. You can't have verbal communication with a man in New South Wales, you know.
I have been informed by a man named Abel Magwitch that he is the benefactor so long unknown to me.
That is the man.
And only he?
And only he.
I know you are not responsible, sir, for my mistakes and wrong conclusions, but I had always thought that it was Miss Havisham.
As you say, Pip, I am not at all responsible for that.
And yet it looked so like it, sir.
Take nothing on its looks. Take everything on evidence. Ah, lunch. Pardon me, and good day to you, Mr. Pip. Molly, 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 how slow you are today.
Mr. Wemmick, you once told me to take special notice of this housekeeper, that I'd see a wild beast tamed. How did Jaggers tame her?
Well, a score or so years ago, Molly was tried at the Old Bailey for the violent murder and strangulation of a woman who'd been carrying on with her husband. It was a case of jealousy, and Molly was the only suspect. Jaggers had Molly dressed in a way to hide them strong arms he's so proud to display now. He confounded the jury and got her off. They couldn't believe one so weak and demure would be capable of such a foul crime, but she were wild. To avenge herself on her husband, she threatened to strangle their 3-year-old child. Jaggers got the child away from her and took Molly into his service. So, she was tamed.
What was the sex of the child?
Said to have been a girl.
Thank you, Mr. Wemmick.
Mr. Pip, under existing circumstances, say if some Tom, Jack, or Richard were in danger, I'd try for some foreign soil. But before any parting, I'd secure all portable property, for you never know what may happen. Don't let anything happen to portable property.
Why, Pip, my friend! Keep walking and smiling. I've secured a lodging for a certain friend down the river, and since you're so fond of rowing, I thought you might like to take a boat with me on the Thames.
A boat ride?
If we row far enough, we will come to Gravesend. There are ships to be met there that can take you and Magwitch to Hamburg or Rotterdam. Freedom.
Put him on foreign soil.
Yes, Pip. What else can we do?
Before I go abroad, I must see Estella.
I understand Estella has gone to Satis House.
But how? She would not go there without my accompanying her.
Nevertheless, that's where she's gone. Visit them. I'll make all the arrangements here. We'll meet in 2 days.
And so I returned to the house where it would have been so much better for me never to have entered, never to have seen. Drummle. I never know who will answer the gate here.
You have just come down?
Yes.
Beastly place. You're a part of the country, I think.
Yes.
I've been wandering about these marshes out of amusement. Out-of-the-way villages, smithies and like. Rather disgusting, really. It's time to fetch the carriage and return the lady to London. Now, what brings you here, Pipsqueak?
Mr. Drummle, I did not seek out this conversation, and I don't think it's a very agreeable one.
Quite my opinion. But don't lose your temper. Haven't you lost enough already without that?
Well, what wind blows you here, Pip?
Miss Havisham, I am as unhappy as ever you can have meant me to be. I found out who my patron is, and it is not a fortunate discovery.
Well,
Miss Havisham, you first brought me here, I suppose, as some kind of servant to be paid and gratify some kind of want or whim.
I did.
And when I fell into the mistake that I have so long remained in, you led me on.
Yes, I let you go on.
Was that kind?
Who am I that I should be kind?
That was a weak complaint, and I'm sorry to have made it. But, Miss Havisham, you used me to punish your self-seeking relations.
They made their own snares. I never made them.
Not all your relations lay traps, Miss Havisham. You deeply wrong your nephew Herbert if you confound him with all the others. He may be of the same blood, but he is not of the same nature.
What do you want for him?
Miss Havisham, if you could spare the money, I could show you how to do my friend Herbert a lasting service in life, but without his knowledge.
Without his knowledge?
Without his knowledge, yes. I began the service myself, and I don't want to be betrayed.
Anything else?
Estella, you know I love you. You know that I have loved you long and dearly. I am ignorant of what may become of me very soon, how poor I may be, or where I might go. But still, I love you. I have loved you ever since I first came to this house.
There are sentiments, fancies, I don't know how to call them, which I am not able to comprehend. When you say you love me, I know what you mean as a form of words, but nothing more. I have tried to warn you of this, but you thought I did not mean it.
I thought and hoped that you could not mean it. Surely it is not in nature.
It is in my nature. It is in the nature formed within me. I make a great difference between you and all other people when I say so much.
Is it not true that Bentley Drummle is pursuing you?
It is quite true.
You could not love him, Estella.
What have I told you? Do you still think I do not mean what I say?
You could not marry him, Estella.
Why not tell you the truth? I am going to be married to him.
Estella, dearest, dearest Estella, do not let Miss Havisham lead you into this fatal step. Bestow yourself on some worthier person than Drummle.
Don't be afraid of my being a blessing to him. I shall not be.
How could I see you Drummle's wife?
Nonsense. This will pass in no time.
Never, Estella.
You will get me out of your thoughts in a week.
Out of my thoughts? You are a part of my existence, part of myself. You have been in every line I've ever read since I first came to this house. The rough, common boy whose poor heart you wounded even then. You've been in every sight I've ever seen. The sails of ships, the marshes, the clouds, in the light, in the darkness, in the woods, in the wind, in the sea, in the streets. The stones of which the strongest London buildings are raised are not more real than your presence to me, Estella. Till my last hour, you cannot choose but remain a part of my character, part of the little good within me and part of the evil. I only associate you with the good, and will faithfully always, for you must have done me far more good than harm. God bless you, Estella. God forgive you.
Miss Estella, the carriage is here. Estella! Miss Estella!
What have I done? What have I done? Pip, perhaps you can never believe now that there's anything human in my heart. Do you hate me too much to speak to me? You said there was something good and useful I could do for your friend. How much money is wanting?
£900.
If I give you the money for that purpose, your mind will be at rest.
Much more at rest.
Can I only help you, Pip, by helping your friend? Is there nothing I can do for you?
Nothing.
You're still in friendly terms with Mr. Jaggers?
Quite.
This is an authority to pay him that money. I keep no money here.
Thank you, Miss Havisham.
Do you see my name is here? If you can ever write under my name, I forgive her. Pray, do it!
Please get up, Miss Havisham.
Oh, what have I done? What have I done?
If you mean what have you done to injure me, very little. I would have loved Estella under any circumstances.
Oh, when you spoke to her just now, I saw in you a looking glass that showed me what I once found myself. Oh, what have I done?
You have kept Estella's right nature from her.
Yes. Yes, I know it, Pip. But please, my dear, believe this. When she first came to me, I meant to save her from misery like my own.
How old was she when she first came here?
3 years old when she came here. She was an orphan, and I adopted her. But I stole her heart away, and I put ice in its place. What have I done?
Better to have left her natural heart to be bruised and broken.
Broken like yours, Pip. Broken like yours.
Good night, Miss Havisham. Goodbye.
Pip! Pip! What have I done? What have I done? I meant to save her from misery like my own.
I do forgive you, Miss Havisham. I forgive you.
What have I done?
Thank you for coming down here, Herbert.
Everything is prepared, Pip. I have secured your passports, and Magwitch understands the journey we are to undertake. We spoke at length, and you know, Pip, he was very communicative. Remember him breaking off about some woman he had had a great deal of trouble with? His wife. It seems she was jealous and revengeful to the last degree.
To what last degree?
Murder. She strangled another woman. Jaggers defended her and got her off.
What else?
Apparently, he had had a child with this woman. And on the very night of the murder, she swore to Magwitch that she would destroy the child.
Did he say how old the child was?
Yes, 3 years.
Oh, Herbert, you're not afraid I'm in fever?
No, dear boy. You seem rather excited, but you are quite yourself.
I know I'm quite myself. And the man we have in hiding down the river, Abel Magwitch, is Estella's father! We wasted no time. Where we might go, or what I might do, or when we might return were questions utterly unknown to me. I did not vex my mind with them, for it was wholly set on the safety of Abel Magwitch. We'll wait here for the passenger steamer.
Faithful dear boy, well done. Thank you.
If all goes well, you'll be safe and free again within a few hours.
I hope so, dear boy. But we can no more see to the bottom of the next few hours than we can see to the bottom of this black river. But you can never know what it is for me to stand here along of my boy and his comrade. Thank you. Thank you.
Pip! Look yonder! I apprehend that man and call upon him to surrender. Is that the man? Yes.
Abel Magwitch!
No! Oh, don't hurt me. Oh! Abel. Oh! Abel, no. Come on.
Yes. Yes.
No.
Stop.
Where's the other one? Brinson.
He's gone, sir. Gone under.
No sign at all?
Gone, sir. Gone.
Sir, I should like to accompany this man.
As you will.
May I sit next to him?
Dear boy, a gentleman should not be known to belong to me now.
Dear God, let me never stir from your side. Let me be as good and true as you have been to me.
Mr. Pip, I've just come from court. Magwitch will be hanged when he is well enough to stand, which may be never. His money and all property will be confiscated.
You have not informed him of this?
No.
Promise me not to tell him. He must not know that his expectations for me have been dashed upon the rocks like his freedom.
You were a fool, my boy, to let that fortune slip through your fingers.
Promise me he will never know.
As you wish, Mr. Pip.
It is the money for Herbert from Miss Havisham. I'm sorry, Pip, that we do nothing to help you.
I did ask something of Miss Havisham. I asked her to give me information relative to her adopted daughter, and she gave me all she possessed. The mother you know, sir. The father is one Abel Magwitch.
On what evidence does Magwitch make this claim?
He does not make it. He does not know it. But though I've lost Estella, I've loved her long, and whatever is nearest to her is dearest to me. Mr. Wemmick, I know you to be a man with a gentle heart, a pleasant home, and a dear old father. I entreat you now, say a word to Mr. Jaggers. Encourage him to be as honest as possible with me now.
What's all this? You with an old father and a pleasant home?
Well, if I don't bring it to the office, what does it matter?
Pip, this man must be the most cunning impostor in London.
I think you're another.
Well, Pip, I'll put a case to you. Put a case that a woman held her child concealed and communicated that fact to her legal advisor. And put a case that at the same time, he held the trust of an eccentric rich lady who was looking for a child to adopt.
I follow you, sir.
Put the case that he lived in an evil atmosphere where all the children he saw suffered certain destruction. And put the case that here was one pretty little child out of the heap who could be saved. To reveal her secret now would drag her back to disgrace.
Thank you, Mr. Jaggers, I understand. As to Abel Magwitch, is there nothing that can be done?
No.
I suppose it is my time now. Goodbye.
It's a bad job.
Bad job indeed for Magwitch. His broken rib had pierced his right lung. Not much longer now.
Dear boy, you've never deserted me. Dear boy.
Oh, are you in much pain today?
Oh, don't complain of none, dear boy.
You never do complain. I must tell you now at last. You understand what I say? You had a daughter once, whom you loved and lost. She lived. She found powerful friends. She is living now. She is a lady and very beautiful, and I love her. Oh, Lord, be merciful to him, a sinner. What do you want? I don't know you.
Well, sir, I dare say this is a matter you'll soon arrange, but you're arrested.
What is the debt?
The debt? £120.15.
Oh, gentlemen, you see my state. I'm not well. Let me come to you tomorrow, for if you take me now, I fear I shall die.
Now, boy, don't you look at me with that tone of voice.
I'll tell you what your love is. It is blind devotion, utter submission, giving up your whole heart and soul as I did.
You know best, Pip, if you have the art to think so.
I have a pretty large experience of boys, and you're a bad set of fellows.
I'll hold you under that pump and I'll choke it out of you.
Don't lose your temper. Haven't you lost enough without that?
You're not much to look at.
You bring me a file, and you bring me witness, or I'll have your heart and liver out.
If it weren't for me, you'd have been in the churchyard long ago and stayed there.
Is it Joe?
Which it air, old chap?
Oh, Joe, you break my heart. Look angry at me, Joe. Tell me of my ingratitude. Strike me. Don't be so good to me.
Pip, you and me were ever the best of friends. When you're well enough to go out for a ride, what larks?
Have you been here long, dear Joe?
Pretty nigh, old chap. I says to Biddy when the news comes in that you're ill that you might be among strangers. And having been ever friends, a visit might not prove unacceptable.
Oh, Joe, some men were here to arrest me, Joe.
It won't bother you. Rest a while now. You mustn't go overdoing it. I'll fetch you some soup.
Oh, thank you, Joe. Thank you.
Here's a letter from your friend. He tried to see you, but you were too ill.
My dear Pip, I have assumed my position in Cairo. Again, I ask you, have you thought of your future?
No. I'm afraid to think of any future.
Consider coming to Cairo. In this branch house of ours, we need
a clerk
who could very quickly work his way into a partner.
Oh, thank you, Herbert. But do leave the question open a while.
For any while. 6 months, a year.
No more than 2 or 3 months, surely.
My dear Mr. Pip, the account of one Abel Magwitch has been settled. All was confiscated of the state, therefore your account is closed. I hope you don't blame me, Mr. Pip. I'm sure I try to serve you with all my heart.
I'm sure of that, Mr. Wemmick, and I thank you most earnestly for your help.
What I look at is the sacrifice of so much portable property. Dear me.
I had to give up the rooms, for I had nothing. I was determined to ask Joe to take me back to the forge, and it was to him that I went one morning with that intention, but found only a brief letter. It seems that Biddy had taught Joe to read and write.
Not wishing to intrude, I have departed, for you are well again, and will do better without, Joe. P.S. Ever the best of friends.
Enclosed in the letter was the receipt for the debt and cost on which I had been arrested. Joe had paid them. The receipt was in his name. What remained for me now was to go back to the forge and disclose my plan to Biddy, my plan which involved her. When I arrived, Joe was uptown on some business, so I spoke with Biddy directly. Biddy, I think once you liked me very well. If you could like me as well again once more, if you could receive me like a forgiven child with all of my faults and disappointments, and forgive me. If you could tell me that you would go through the world with me, you would surely make it a better world for me, and me a better man for it, and I would try to make it a better world for you.
My dear Pip, I am to be married. Married next week. To Joe.
To Joe? Oh, Biddy, you will have the best husband in the whole world.
Indeed, Pip.
You will make him as happy as ever he deserves to be.
Indeed, I intend to try to be so.
I hope you will have children to love, and that some little fellow will sit in your chimney corner just as I... Oh, don't tell him, Biddy, that I was thankless and unkind. Simply tell him that I honored you both, because you were both so good to me. But please, Biddy, tell me now that you forgive me, and that you will think better of me in the time to come.
Pip, God knows I've forgiven you. If I have anything to forgive.
I have not seen Joe nor Biddy for 11 years. I joined Herbert in Cairo and became a clerk for Clarica and Company, the company which thankfully Herbert never knew that Miss Havisham and I had founded. After some years, I too became a partner. We were not a great house. We did not make mince of money, but we had a good name. We owed so much to Herbert's ever-cheerful industry that I often wondered how I had conceived the old idea of his ineptitude. And then one day it occurred to me that perhaps the ineptitude had never been in him at all, but in me.
Pip! Biddy, it's Pip! Pip's back! We give him the name Pip for your sake, dear old chap. We hoped he might grow a little bit like you, and well, we think he do.
I think so too.
My dear Pip, tell me as an old friend, have you quite forgotten Estella?
My dear Biddy, I have forgotten nothing in my life that ever held a foremost place there.
She led a most unhappy life. Her husband treated her with great cruelty. He died of an accident caused by his own ill treatment of a horse.
And Satis House?
It is to be sold.
Perhaps I should go and take a look at the old place before dark.
Perhaps you should, old chap.
May I come with you, Uncle Pip?
Uncle Pip? Yes.
Footlox!
I used to play here as a boy.
For Miss Havisham, I know.
I would ring this bell and a beautiful lady would answer.
Pip,
Estella!
I'm greatly changed. I wonder you know me. What a pretty child. May I give you a kiss?
It is strange, Estella, that we should meet here again where our last meeting was.
I have never been here since.
Nor I.
Would you like to take the candle and go explore?
May I, Uncle Pip?
Everything else has gone from me, little by little, but I have kept this.
And now it is to be sold.
At last it is. And you live abroad still,
Still.
and do well, I am sure.
I work pretty hard for a sufficient living, so yes, I do well.
I have often thought of you.
Have you?
Of late. Very often. There was a long, hard time when I kept far from the remembrance of what I had thrown away when I was quite ignorant of its worth. But now I have given it a place in my heart.
You have always held your place in my heart.
Look! Cards! May I play with them, Uncle Pip?
I little thought I should take leave of you in taking leave of this spot. I'm very glad to do so.
Glad to part again, Estella? To me, the remembrance of our last parting is a painful thing.
But you said to me, God bless you. God forgive you. And if you could say that to me then, you will not hesitate to say that to me now. Now when suffering has been stronger than all other teaching, and has taught me to understand what your heart once was. I have been bent and broken, but I hope into a better shape. Be as considerate and good to me as you are, and tell me we are friends.
We are friends.
And shall continue friends apart.
This house is so dark, so strange and melancholy. Mrs. Stella, may we open the shutters?
Yes, open them. Open them all.
The first light in many, many years enters this hall, and in this tranquil light, I see no shadow of another parting from her.